Okay, this is section 1.1, exponents in order of operations. And you can see here in the box, I have an example of a power, 3 to the 4th power. 3 is the base and 4 is the exponent. And that is a shorthand way of writing 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So when I want to evaluate this, I'm going to go ahead and write this out. Now I can group these first two numbers together because as long as I have all multiplication or all addition, then I can use the commutative and associative properties. So 3 times 3 is 9. Over here in the second half of the problem, I have 3 times 3, which is 9. And 9 times 9 is 81. Be sure that you are not just multiplying the base times the exponent, 3 times 4 and getting 12. That's not how we get the answer to these problems. Okay, now we're going to look at order of operations. So if you will look over here on the right of the screen, you can see we have our order of operations, PEMDAS. You probably remember learning this as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I wish that we would change the P to a G. So instead of parentheses, I have G for grouping symbols. Any type of grouping symbol is going to have hierarchy over the exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So your grouping symbols could include not only parentheses, but brackets, absolute value signs, and radical signs. Notice that the M and D have an arrow over it. That means that we're going to be doing multiplication and division from left to right. One is not any higher on the order of hierarchy than the other. Same thing for addition and subtraction. You do that from left to right. So let's look at a couple of examples. In problem 2, let's see if there's any grouping symbols, and there's not. Are there any exponents? No. So now I'm going to do multiplication and division from left to right. So I'm going to do the 2 times 3 first. I bring the 5 straight down. I bring the plus sign straight down, and then 2 times 3 is 6. And 5 plus 6 is 11. Problem number 3, I have grouping symbols here. I've got 6 minus 2 inside the grouping symbols. So I'm going to bring this 5 and the minus sign straight down and then do what's inside these grouping symbols. 6 minus 2 is 4. Now I'm going to go ahead and do 5 minus 4, which is 1. Okay, with problem 4, we are still going to be using our order of operations. We're going to see if there are any parentheses or any grouping symbols. And there are grouping symbols here, but there's nothing inside the grouping symbols for me to do. There's just the number 10. So then I'm going to move on to exponents. So I have 10 squared. That's the next thing I need to do. 10 squared is 100. So I'm going to have 3 times 100, which is 300. Okay, problem number 5. Again, I'm going to be looking at my order of operations. I'm trying to find any grouping symbols first. There are none. There are no exponents. So the next thing I need to look for is multiplication or division. So I have 3 times 5. That's what I'm going to do first. I need to bring down the rest of this problem just like it is, 30 minus 2 plus, and then go ahead and multiply that 3 times 5 and get 15. Now, it's very tempting from here to want to add the 2 and 15, but you do not do that. Remember that you're doing addition and subtraction from left to right. That's why that arrow is over the A and the S over here on the right-hand side of my screen. You do addition and subtraction from left to right. So I'm going to do 30 minus 2, which is 28, and then add 28 and 15 and get 43. Okay, Problem number 6, again, we are going to start with our piece, if there's parentheses in here or any other type of grouping symbol. And there is parentheses here, 1 plus 3 is inside those parentheses. So I'm going to bring the first part of this problem straight down. And what is inside those parentheses is going to give me 4. So now I look for exponents. There are no exponents. And I'm going to do my multiplication and division next. So I have 4 times 4. That's 16, and then subtract, and I get 4 for my final answer. Okay, and again, be careful. It's very easy to want to do this 20 minus 4 first. You know, people want to start from left and go to right and do everything from left to right, but we have to follow our order of operations. Okay, problem number 7, you see we don't have any parentheses or exponents, so I'm going to be doing my multiplication. Now, since I have fractions and it takes me a few steps to do my fractions, I'm actually going to come over here on the side and do my multiplication. I'm going to write the 1/4 as 1 over 2 times 2, because I know that I want to cancel one of these 2's with this other 2 up here in the numerator of my second fraction. So those will cancel, and that's going to give me 1/6. So I'll write this down as 1/6. And then with my second set of multiplication here, I do not have anything that's going to cancel, so I can just multiply straight across here and get 3/10. Okay, now the next thing I need to do is to get a common denominator. That means I'm going to take 1/6 and multiply it by something, and I'm going to take 3/10 and multiply it by something, right, top and bottom, in order to get an equivalent fraction. My equivalent fraction is going to have 30 as my denominator, right? The least common denominator for the 6 and 10 is 30. So with this first fraction, I'm going to be needing to multiply by 5, because 5 times 6 is 30, so I'm going to have 5/30ths. In my second fraction, I'm going to need to multiply by 3. In the bottom part of the fraction, I can see here 10 times 3 is 30, so my numerator is going to be 9. When I add these two fractions together, I get 14/30ths. And that will simplify to 7 over 15. On problem 8 here, you notice that I have a set of brackets and I also have a set of parentheses. Well, when you are looking at your grouping symbols, I'm going to again come over here and write a G here for grouping. You're going to start with your innermost grouping symbols. In this case, inside of my innermost grouping symbols, I have 8 minus 1. So everything else I'm going to write down just like I have it. I'm going to go ahead and write this as 7 squared. And then from here, I'm still following my order of operations within these brackets. So I need to do the exponents first. So I'm going to have 7 squared, which is 49. So now I have 1 plus 49, which is 50. So I have 8 times 50, which is 400. And just a reminder here, you need to be learning how to do this without your calculator. The numbers that I'm going to choose for you are always fairly small, or even if they are bigger, like 400 is kind of big, but to multiply 8 times 50 to get 400, that's very easy multiplication. So do this without your calculator. Okay, problem 9. You notice I have big division bar. Well, that big division bar is a grouping symbol. So what we're going to do is work on the top part of the fraction and the bottom part of the fraction separately, and then wait to the very end to simplify our fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is what is inside these parentheses. And within the parentheses, I still have to follow my order of operations. So I'm going to be doing my exponents, 3 squared. So I'm going to have 30 plus 8 times 9 minus 5 in the numerator. And the first step in the denominator is going to be this multiplication of 6 times 2. So I'm going to have 12 minus 10. Now I still am going to be working in these parentheses up here in the numerator. So I'll have 30 plus 8 times 4. The denominator, I can go ahead and get 2 from there. Now I need to work on the multiplication up here in the numerator. So I'm going to have 30 plus 32. And that's going to give me 62. And then 62 divided by 2 is 31. Okay, for problem 10, I would like you to pause the video and try to do this on your own. And your answer for problem 10 is 5/3.